Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says the country's wage bill is far too high. Delivering his budget, he said an unaffordable public sector wage deal would threaten the fiscal outlook. It comes as government is stuck in a pay dispute with civil servants. Let's get some reaction now from John Teffo from the Public Servants Association. Mr. Teffo, good morning and thank you very much for your time. If you'd please permit me, though, to start with the latest news of Andre de Ruyter's immediate departure, your views on some of what he has said about the African National Congress and then that decision itself to part ways immediately.
Good morning, Fundo, and thank you for having us. One would say we are not shocked about what the former Eskom CEO has said. You'd understand that our state-owned entities and state-owned companies has been the field for those that want to enrich themselves. We have got overnight millionaires because the government, which obviously is under the ruling party, has deliberately made sure that the system permits that constant eating out of the cookie jar without consequence management.
Then one wonders, if that is your position on state-owned entities, then one wonders what is your view on the minister's budget yesterday, his speech where it seems more funds will be channeled to the state-owned entities in the form of infrastructure projects?
Well, it is a sad day, and I'll tell you what. While one would appreciate the increased budget for infrastructure development, we know that 60%, at least 60% of that money will go to service providers and not the actual projects themselves. And we have said many times that the government need to be capacitated. What is difficult about employing builders, employing plumbers, electricians? We have them in abundance to make sure that the government itself is able to undertake these projects. Some years back, government implemented what is called OSD, that occupational specific dispensation, meant to attract and retain the skilled people and those that were obviously in scarce skills and critical skills. And today we still cannot see the results of that particular program because there are leakages that needs to be closed. It doesn't matter how much money you give to Eskom, how much money you give to post office and all other entities. As long as leakages are not closed, the taps are leaking, we will see this money being spent like the way it's spent, and it will be the permanent feature of our budgets.
Then just a broader sense, your views on Eskom, that 254 billion that has now been taken over. Many know that it was something that was most certainly certain. What was uncertain was the amount. Now that we know it, and also what was uncertain were the conditions. We've heard yesterday the finance minister took time to explain some of those conditions. Your views?
Look, the lesser one talks about this Eskom story, the better. But all what we would say, you remember that even in 2019, they were given money and there was talk of stringent conditions. Look, the minister said what he said, and our take is that it was nothing new in terms of the intention to put stringent measures to control the spending and governance. But really, there's no political will. And we don't expect to see anything different.
On the municipality debt, that type of intervention there where there was very little detail, but he did state that there would be some sort of an incentive for those municipalities that are struggling to pay off their debts.
Look, here's a simple thing. You take Soweto alone, they owe about 5 billion. So it's a fact that municipalities are struggling to collect revenues. But there's also an issue that we cannot ignore of the expensive basic services like your electricity and water that the millions of our people are not able to pay. And that is why we need a brave government. That is the government that is pro-poor and really consider the possibility, and the pros of establishing a flat rate that people have been calling upon. If you've got millions of houses that are not affording to pay and they pay nothing, it is better when you then say, let's have a flat rate, and you could then have 70, 80% of them pay. At the moment, 20% is carrying 80%, which is not sustainable.
And then the public sector wage bill, it's been a very contentious one, and you would have heard there in that intro that the finance minister went on to say it is quite a risk to the fiscus. Your views on the approach in that speech towards the negotiations, or just the indication of the relationship between the public service and finance?
Well, firstly, he was correct to say we are still busy negotiating, but there was a problem that he threw a bit of threat towards our side when he said we need to be able to balance all these things. Just to put things in perspective, you must look at a government employee who has not got increase 1 year in 2020. And instead of getting increase in 2021, he then got a tip of 1,000 rand. And last year, having a 3%, which was below inflation, pushed down his throat. And this year, with an opening offer of 0.5%, you could see that public servants are being slaughtered. And we are not going to sit back and allow that. We are prepared for a fight for at least something that is above inflation.
I want to take you back to that which you refer to as a tip, that 1,000 gratuity. We understand that it should be coming to an end in March. What is the status?
That's basically, as you are saying, although we do not agree based on legal technicality, but as it is, the opening offer of the employer indicated that gratuity equates to 4.2%, which is what employers prepared to put it on the baseline, and that will be the basis of engaging. So it will not completely disappear, but it will be converted to a baseline increase that is equated, according to employer, 4.2%.
And then just in closing, on the installation of solar panels, we all heard that there'll be a rebate of 25% or not more than 15,000. What are your views around this? Because I listened to commentary just after that budget speech, a number of political parties, in particular the EFF, criticizing that position, saying it's really exclusive because many don't even meet that tax bracket, but electricity is something that we all need. So do you think it would assist or benefit the majority or just a few?
I'll tell you, all in all, overall, the minister's budget did not give much confidence and hope to the poor. It was a budget that was pro-rich, and specific about the tax rebates or incentive for those that would install solar panels. You create a situation whereby the rich and those that afford would then benefit, and those that the poor and those in the lower income brackets that would not even see that tax. Firstly, they do not afford installing the solar panels.
Yes.
So see a situation where the poor will continue to be in the dark and the richer will enjoy the light and the tax rebates.
Because practically speaking, if it's roughly around 75,000 to install the solar, if you're going to await the tax rebate, it's 15,000 that must come after you have installed it yourself. So for the poor, that seemed to be the question, that can they actually afford to install and then get the rebate a bit later on? Or what would be better would be for them to perhaps get that 15,000 beforehand if there are certain registered service providers that would be installing. Is there perhaps creativity that is needed around this time insofar as that massive drive to install solar?
we called upon government to actually, instead of having these funny things that is called tax rebates, to have a subsidy. You know, when you give at least 50% subsidies to those that are poor, they could at least be able to, you know, come to the party and enjoy that particular benefit, which would then put all of us in the light, other than having the rich and the few. The subsidy is only the way to go. And other than that, we don't see the poor benefiting from this, because you firstly, you must go and get this, the 50,000, and you are struggling to get bread. Where would you get 50,000? Let's be realistic. So the minister ignored the reality of South Africans.
So no rebates, you say subsidies. Thank you very much, Mr. Teffo, for your time. That was the Public Service Association's Labour Relations Manager, John Teffo.